Oh, ladies and dudettes, how are we? What is going on? What is Adam doing? We have plenty to talk about as always in our buy, hold, risk, sell. A few people in here that will be listening have a lot less trades, that's for sure at the moment. But there's still plenty to talk about, and especially on the hold side, there's some interesting sells happening right now. But let's quickly go through the who's hot and who's not list before we go through all the potential buys this week and then some of the holds or sells in the back end of the video. So thank you so much again for being here. With the who's hotness, we do have some mid replacements for Haas, with him down at 5.3% sold already. Isaiah Yeo, Pat Carrigan, Joe Tarpane are the three big dogs on the list that people are looking to bring in. It makes a lot of sense, and I'll have a little comparison with those three very, very shortly. Next up at 0.77, we have Ponga and Olakau'atu. Cleary's being brought in, obviously, there. And then we have some more interesting picks, and obviously Harry Grant, Colin Matangi there, Casey McLean, Dave Fafita, Munster, Barnett, Starling, DCE, and Damien Cook. I would not say any of them are a bad pick at all. So good stuff there if you're looking at grabbing one of those guys. From the who's not list, I have a few problems right now. Haas, obviously, an out. Crichton, second most sold this week at 0.97. Feels like a big mistake to me, but we'll discuss his scores and where he's at. Eli Katoa, we are currently unsure how bad the injury is, but we'll get into him a little bit later. Ethan Strange is making sense. Wishart makes sense. Tedesco at 0.74. This is wild right now. Yes, they've got a buy, but two guys, Angus Crichton and Tedesco, that could absolutely bang in the last month of footy when they get back next week after a rest, especially. Ezra Mam, fair enough. Dom Young, fair enough. Lockie Galvin, Terrell May, We did this last week and he picked up a 50 odd there. You got Brandon Smith being sold there. Dylan Walker, Jermaine Asako is touch and go one as well. Dylan Walker, not sure if he's actually going to play this week. Braden Trindle could be a hold or a sell. We'll work that one out soon. And then Reed Marnie there is a very interesting sell, and just mainly because he's scored pretty low the last few weeks. Let's get into the hooking stocks for now. And Harry Grant is obviously the big one there. 670k. He did go down and score an 81, which hasn't happened for a long time, right? Since last year. Picked up an 87 in round 5 there. This year he's not had that in his game at all, unfortunately. And he's someone that's been struggling a fair bit. He did go 50 and 54 the 2 games before that. So if you're at least expecting a 50 going forward, then he's a fine pickup. Priced at 48. The main issue here might be arresting, but we do not know if that's actually going to be the case at this point of the season there for them. Do they want to make sure they get them under premiership? Do they not care as much? That's probably the big question mark there on that one. So, Harry Grant, that's an interesting pickup. I was just having a little look there. I need to pop Karapani into my list as well while we are here. So, just so I don't forget, a few people asking about him, and he's obviously down at 237. He's been actually put onto the wing for the Broncos there. So, yeah, Grant, a really solid one to go for. If he doesn't miss a game for the rest of the season, then he's an awesome pickup. If he does miss a game, it probably isn't the best pickup. So that's one of the guys that are highly targeted this week. Tom Starling, now priced at 40, still a very, very good buy. He obviously had a very, very low start to season, and then his last 5 games since he's been inserted into this starting lineup and playing big minutes, he's got an incredible 50-plus average, 55 even, which is awesome. And he has 2 60s in that last 3 games. So he's been massive. 56 or so is the average for him over those 5 games. And with Danny Levi not on the bench anymore, we've got Adam Cook in there. I do expect Starling to play pretty well the 80 at 9 now, which is good. Damien Cook, he's the other guy that people are looking at this week, and I completely understand. Obviously, after his massive score last week, the 95 almost in pure base, which was incredible. Hopefully, he can continue doing that over the next few weeks. He's had 3 games in his last 5 there where he's gone for, even better. 4 games in his last 6 where he's gone 6+ tackle breaks, which is massive for him if he can get good running numbers to go along with some good tackle numbers there. We know that's something he can do on a regular basis, and then he can continue to score well. Priced at 57, but could be one of the better scorers to finish out the year, and hopefully plays every single game. And I think he deserves that anyway, given he's one of the better players in the team, but for what he's done for the Bunnies there. And they played Mamazelis last week for good minutes in Cup, so unsure what that exactly means, but Cook's still a really solid purchase. Chris Randall at 633 continues to kind of get that odd attacking stat at end of games and helping him get to a decent score there. He did go 68 into 44-45 into a 52 last week. So he's actually looking at about a 50 before that line break try assist. So he's someone I think now priced at the 45. You can probably get a little bit of a better score somewhere elsewhere, I think, for Randall. But one of those hookers that at a cheaper price could do a job for you. Isaiah Yeo at 775. Now, we start the mid comparison. And just remember, guys, if you are selling Payne Haas, you don't exactly need to trade in a mid. You can pick anyone from any position, have a look at your cover. If you've kind of got 4 good mids that you'd be happy to play on a week-to-week basis, then maybe you don't have to go for a mid. But if you only have the 3, now that Haas is out, I would suggest getting a mid to replace him. But Isaiah Yeo, priced at the 55, averaging 61.7 for the year. Since people have been picking him up in the last few weeks, he's gone 70 and 58. So it's a 64 average and above where he's at right now. And I expect him to average exactly what he has for the season at 61.7, and priced under that still. A really, really good purchase to finish out the year with some rest risk, obviously, there in one of these last 5 games. It won't be this week, but it could be one of the next bunch. So we'll see how that Melbourne game goes, I think, before we find out a bit more info on who's going to be resting. But I do think that Isaiah Yeo is the best scorer to finish the year if he wasn't to be rested. That's the big question mark. Pat Carrigan at 689. Now that Haas is down, he's going to have to play the 80 minutes. And we know that this year when he's played over 70 minutes in the lock position, it's been really, really strong for him in 2024. What you do see is a 58 average. So getting him priced at 49, he's undervalued on that very, very easily. And that's with some games at not the full 80. But the bye next week is probably the only thing turning people away. Otherwise, I think Carrigan to be the most bought mid this week. And is why he isn't there. And second behind Isaiah Yeo's, because Isaiah should be able to score a little bit better than that 58. But is priced higher. You do have that cash available from Payne Haas, though. Joe Tarpany at 53, he's priced at hitting a 54 average for the season. In his previous sort of month of footy, he's gone over 50 in all of the games and then picked up a 76 in that last one. So in the last 7 games for him, he has, last 6 games for him, he has 2 70s. And then 2 games prior to that, he went a 94. So he definitely has these boom games in him. And the good thing with him right now is apart from round 17, where he just had the 50 minutes and 43 points, he's been over 50 and consistent in each of those weeks. So Joe Tarpany, a really, really good guy to own. And it's a little bit cheaper than Yeo in between him and Carrigan, obviously. And we know that Tarpany's going to play every game. So that's probably the thing that helps Tarpany win over everyone else, is the fact that he's going to play every game from here on in. And we're unsure on Yeo, and we definitely know that Carrigan is going to miss 1 game there. So Tarpany might get the win on that front, has some upside with those 70s and a 90, and could be a really good player for your side. Colin Matangi up to an 804k. How good has he been going? The main issue with Keon right now, if you're looking at buying him, is he did pick up a 55-minute game last week, and thankfully he still scored well, but I'm not confident that going forward he's going to be upwards of that 60s guy that we saw in recent history. He had been scoring tries. Thankfully, getting 80 minutes, it didn't matter for him. He didn't have to score tries to score well. But I do think in 55 to 65 minutes, which could be where he's at, it might not be. It might be back to 70. But with where he's at right now, he does have to get a try saver like last week. He has to get like 6 or 7 tackle breaks or some attacking stats for him to do super well. And I would rather go for the other guys like Tarpany than go for Keon Kolomatangi right now. But all of them together, I think, are really, really good picks. Mitch Barnett, 882k is extremely expensive. A 63 pricing there for him with the duel is great, obviously, and we know that we've been getting good scores out of him. 66 in his most previous in 71 minutes, 53 with 59 minutes. So if he's anywhere near those minutes there, he's definitely not a buy. If he gets back to the 70-minute mark or closer to the 80, then I think he'll be a 60 scorer. So whatever you think is going to happen there. Walker, obviously, didn't play many minutes last week with the injury, the head knock. So if that happens in game, I think Barnett will continue to go big minutes. If it doesn't, he may go to 60 and could be a little bit frustrating. Cam Murray at 662, priced at 47. The last 2 weeks for him, he's gone 52 and 43 there. And they've got the note there, the Murray to middle with Cheekham on the edge after 25. That didn't get to happen as much. Obviously, the meters were lower and he had a couple of missed tackles and the run meters were a little bit lower as well. So If Murray can get rid of those errors a little bit, maybe get the odd attacking stat and get back into the sort of the 40s tackles, then he'll be sweet. But maybe you do go for Carrigan, or you go for someone else other than Murray. The only big reason here is the fact that he'll play every single game through the rest of the season. Ruben Porter at 425, priced at 30 now is pretty crazy, but he's had a great couple of weeks there since he's gone back into the second row spot and getting good minutes, a 44 and a 51. And last week he looked awesome. And if he can continue playing like that, he's going to be a good guy at 425 to have. The main issue is the buy in round 26. But other than that, he's going to score pretty well, I think, with the dual position. And if you're pretty well okay in round 26, like if you don't have Fainu or Galvin anymore, or just one of them, then Porter might be okay as a buy, and then you can use him as a looper in round 27. And you can always play him or loop him in your side on a week-to-week basis there in the second row spot. Cam McInnes, would love a Sharky's photo of him. He looks good in the Dragons V though. 49 he's priced at, average of 52.4 for the year. I looked at him at hooker and I got a little bit excited. Obviously, he did play half in that game in round 10 and was able to make 49 tackles. And what we do see though when he doesn't play the 13 role is that meters gain goes down. The only time we can really look at him, I'm not sure if this is exactly going to happen, him at hooker, but we do have some incredible scores with him at hooker when he played for the Red V, obviously, and that's probably why they've got the photo still there of that, because he was such a gun in that Dragons team. But we know he can have incredible scoring and can still make some decent run meters, which is basically what he did through that 2020 season. He was a ball running 9/13. He'd mix between the both, which was helpful for him in those games to get big tackles and big run meters there. The only reason that you would look to buy McInnes is if you expect him to play 70 to 80 minutes in whatever role that he ends up in. And I think if that's the case, he'll be a guy that scores high 50s rather than near that 49 or 52 that he's priced at or that he's averaging. So he's an interesting guy to have a muck around with if you would like a mid as well. He fits that bill. Hamali Olakau'atu. All right, we can't really judge him off that game where he picked up that try late and got the 43 because DCE and co weren't playing with him. He does have a runway of 5 games to go with no buys remaining. He's had a good couple of weeks rest and he's a point of difference play. So Olakau'atu, if you can muck things around with your mids and potentially move one of your edges up, or Colin Matangi moves up to mid, then Olakau'atu is going to be a great buy here at 647, playing next to DCE. And we do know that last year, we can obviously go off the back end there, he had some cracking games there. In amongst some 49s though, so 49 for 3 games in a row, but then the 93 to finish against the Tigers. So that will happen in the third to last game. And priced at 46, you should get somewhere around the 50 plus average and be a solid guy to own. Jacob Preston, I think, is going to be the safer of the two. The only thing that's sitting over Preston's head, it's not a halo, it's the fact that Jamin Salmon, the GOAT, is going to be coming back in the next few weeks. They're likely next week or the round after, around 24 for 25. And he could spell Preston a little bit. But what we do know, though, is that when Preston does play big minutes, when he plays big minutes in the second row, he's been an awesome scorer this year. So he's seeing an average there of 51.1 for him this season. And the pales in comparison to the scores when he's over 70 minutes. If you go from both years, it's 55. If you just go from 2024, even this year, it's 59 in the 5 games that he's played. And that involves 2 tries, 3 line breaks there. So not crazy, but obviously that 83 sitting in there. But he's one of those guys that could do a great job, will play each of the 5 games. Just has that little bit of a worry for Jamin Salmon sitting over his head there. Munster's at 589. So if you do want something a little bit different, hoping that he plays each of the last 5 games, which I don't expect him to, and he obviously has injury risk as well with that groin. Price is 42 though. We know that he can go nuts. Picked up a 91 in round 8 against the Bunnies earlier in the season, and just coming off a 52 there in that full 80-minute effort with 1 line break try assist. So had a really good start to that game. So he could definitely do that, get you about 10 points of value and get you some good scores, but it could backfire as well. Someone I'd go for instead, obviously a lot more expensive, but DCE is a great pickup this week. Priced at 54, averaging 55 for the season. He's one of those guys that you saw at the back end of last year again, where he was the one that was completely dominant. He went 88, 68, 106, and 95 to end the year. And he was goal kicking as well, so keep that in mind. But he does have a nice run here. Canberra Warriors, Tigers Dogs and Sharkies. Should be able to play really well and at least hit that average of 55 and potentially beat that as well. So DCE, a really strong one to pick. He's had a very up and down year, let's just say that. But coming off a 78, obviously 48, 69, and 76, his last four, he's starting to warm up and he's getting into his good work after a bit of a slower start to the season. So he definitely has these games in him for sure, but he also has some really high games in him, which is what you're looking for as a bit of a point of difference guy that has potential for 70s, 80s, and 90s, and DCE has that in spades. SJ, the end of career pick, basically. I'm seeing some people going, I'm trading Brown to him just to pay my respects and enjoy watching him for the a little bit extra for the last month. So by all means, go for it. He has averaged 51.5 for the year, and he's priced at 43, so it's pretty low where he's priced at 605. That's just after a slow month, basically, and then he's come back with a 3 try-assist effort against the Eels. The only little issue here is he comes up against a couple of harder teams and then has a bye in the last round. So from a head-to-heads perspective, he could come out and do really well and get some great scores in the next few weeks and help you with that as well. So I'm definitely not against the pick by any means. Jamal Fogarty is 731. He with Ethan Strange back, I think it's a good spot again to buy him, obviously. Priced at 52, he's up at 56 for the year. And it was a bit lower last week at 44 without Strange next to him. His kick meters went well down, unfortunately, and just had the 1 try assist there. I still think that they'll be able to score some points against most teams, maybe not the Penrith Panthers, but I think every other team there, they'll be able to score some points. So we'll get the odd goal. He'll get the odd try assist as well. And he should be fine, but they do have Damien Cook on the bench, and when Cook comes on, he might take a few kick meters, but at least he's not on for the whole game, and I think that Fogs is fine to buy still. And then Matt Burton at a very similar price as well at 734. They're all very similar now, and Burton will play the rest of the year, which is great, and coming off some really nice scores there. Did pick up a 44 a couple of weeks ago, but he's gone 57 plus in his last 4 of his last 5 games with 2 high 60s and a 70 there. So one of those guys that's doing it across the board at the moment, plays Dragons, Dolphins, Warriors, Manly, Cowboys. Not a tough stretch by any means, so he should be able to at least get into his work in those games. Let's go to one of the mid-price guys in Dejan Arce with 401k. And guys, I'm not sure if you would want to be going for cash outs at this point, but some of these 400k guys that can do a job will still be solid for you. It looks like he's taken over as the main halfback. Obviously, the last 2 games you've seen that. He picked up 30 and 65 with the HIA there, coming off of that, but then a 59 with a try last week. And you do look at round 19, he picked up a 43 in that one as well. So across those 3 games, he's basically averaging 44.5, I believe, 44, 45, which at 401k is well under where he's priced at and will do a job for the back end of the season. The main problem here is the fact that they play Penrith this week and then into Roosters. Outside of that, he's going to be a really good little guy to have against Broncos, Dragons, and Tigers, in my opinion. But in this one, you'd be hoping that he just makes good tackles and he kicks well in general play if you were to be buying him this week. Casey McLean in the centres now. He's at 365. There's still some potential that he does keep his spot over Alamotti when he does return into the last couple of rounds. He could also lose it in the last couple of rounds too. So up to you, 365. If you want some type of cash out under 400k, I think Casey McLean's still the guy. He looks great. Picked up a 52 last week. Good tackle numbers again. I think he's doing a great job out there and he might even keep his spot. We'll see how that one plays out. The youngster. But Phil Sami, how good's he gone the last month? He's picked up, since moving to centre basically, well, he's gone 50 in round 15. He went back to the wing and got a 15 pointer. Then he went 60, 58, 51, and 62. So we can't ignore him anymore. And at dual position, priced at 41, he definitely could average 50 for the rest of the season. They do have some tougher games in there. This one will be a fun one against the Sharks. They've got the Roosters in there. And Penrith potentially resting in the last game. We'll see how that one plays out. But if you want a little bit of a point of difference play that could hit 50 plus for the back end of the year, then Phil Sami, you could definitely go worse than him on that one. Jojo Fafita, I had to mention him after his 90 last week, but the week before he got 9 on the wing playing 80 minutes. So yeah, not sure if you can trust it too much. If you're buying him as a looper only. He got 18, a 9, a 28, a 48. He's all over the shop. So the game of his life. Does he build confidence from that, or does he go back to normal? That's the big question. All right, Zach Lomax is in next, 655, priced at 47 there. Has a 49.3 average for the year, which is pretty good. Comes up against Dogs this week. It'll be a fun clash on that. What is he going to be up against? Adokar, which will be fun. And then you've got Titans, Sharkies, Para, Canberra. Really solid guy to own. The big thing here is he doesn't play the Tigers ever. He picked up 103. And outside of that, he's had a lot of 40s in and around that. So not my first pick. I'd rather go for someone a little bit higher in the name of Dane Gagai. Comes up against the Tigers this week. If you want to get Dane Gagai, this is the week to do it. They have a nice run to end the year. He has some really high scores in him. He saw 80 in round 18. He has gone back-to-back 39s. I do think that's going to turn around. He hasn't had any tries, any try assists. He's been missing some tackles, sadly, the last month. But I think run meters, tackle breaks, offloads, and we're going to see a try or a try assist this week for sure. So definitely a really solid guy to grab this week, along with some other Newcastle Knights outside backs. But Dane Gagai, we know he has the pedigree over the last few years. He's priced at 49. I know he can outdo that over the next month of footy for sure. Jacob Kiraz at 669, just a really solid guy to own. Picked up a 72 the other week into a 45 last week without a try. So if we can get back to try scoring, we know that those big scores are in him. And the dual positions there, he'll play every game from here. Really solid one to pick. Kalen Ponga at 648 there. Priced at 46. Obviously a low one last week, but we know what he can do with that goal kicking as well. It's good news. And he picked up 44 and 52 against Raiders and Broncos. Still two of the not best teams, is what I was going to say. Two of the lesser teams, lower teams on the ladder. We'll go with that for now because I can't speak at the end of this video, but thanks for being here so far. I think Ponga's going to get back to some really good form, and I'm worried, very worried as a non-owner this week. So I'm going to try and pick him up in Supercoach. Or, I don't know, actually, I can't do that. I've got Turbo and Teddy in that as well. So I'm going to be scared not owning Ponga, but hopefully he's going to hit some good passes to Greg Marzou on the outside there. But I think Ponga's going to hit 55 plus of an average for the last end of this season, which will be fun. A lot of people are looking at Turbo as well. I would definitely go for Ponga over Turbo, but we do see that he has some nice games as well with Canberra, Warriors, Tigers, into the Doggies and Cronulla. And we know that what these guys can do at the back end of the season as they try to cement a top 8 spot. So I would go Ponga over Turbo, but still a really good pick. Greg Marzou, with the skills that he possesses, I think he's going to have a really nice finish to this year. He's actually picked up 42 and 44 against the Panthers in those previous 2 games. He does have 2 low games in and around those good scores there of 16 and an 18. The 16 he was injured, obviously there. I did have to play him that game, of course, but yeah, it is what it is on that one. We know that the back end of the year is pretty good for the Knights as well, and he's looking good, really good the last few weeks, just running the footy, and hopefully some tries come off the back of that. All right, Josiah Karapani there at 237k. He comes onto the wing now for Corey Oates. So there we go. Some news here while we're here. Josh Curran's in some doubt for round 23 as he deals with an AC joint injury. Missed training on Monday. Will need to prove his fitness in that one as well. So there you go. That's cool. Karapani, back to him, 237k. On the wing there, I think he'll be able to score well. He got a 40 against the Rabbitohs without a try. So just ran for 179 metres, had 7 tackle breaks there. Even had 2 errors and still scored 40. So if you do want a cheaper guy that hopefully can play for the next month with that bye next week, and you can use him as a looper next week. If you're going to go down that route, I think that he's the cash out to get. Hoping that he doesn't go back to the interchange, and he's actually taken the spot from Corey Oates. We'll see how that one goes because he had a bit of a tough one, Corey, last week, that's for sure. Kaipi's Paul at 546k. I think he's a hold for this week against the Tigers, and then you can decide from there. But if you do have trades available, I understand looking to flick him now, but against the Panthers, he wasn't able to do his darndest, but I think that he'll be able to get something on the weekend. He has 2 try assists for the whole year and 1 line break. That's absolutely incredible with 2 line break assists only, no tries. So surely this is the week, one of those weeks that a lot of people will sell him and then he'll go and he'll score a try, but it might not as well, and he might just stay poor. So there you go. But it happened with Fainu last week at 531. Up to you if you want to sell. I think just a clear hold against the Knights this week, and use him as a final decision guy in their last game would be my call. Them and the Knights could play that final game. So up to you. You can use him if you want to upgrade as well. Eli Katoa, we're still trying to find out some information on him from the Storm, and if we do find out some further info, then we can make a clear decision. But NL Physio has him at a 2 to 4 week out. He did go out and play the rest of the game on the weekend. Well, a good portion of that game. He did come back out, which was helpful for the squad. But, well, not helpful. They lost in the end, but he worked hard for him. 32 and 68 minutes. He's not playing well at the moment either. So if you're worried about his knee longer term, if you do have trades left over, I do suggest trading him. I think I'd way more trade him over Teddy and all these guys that people are looking at selling. So Eli Katoa, a definite guy that you can look to move on. If you think he's going to be out for a few weeks, he may get rested as well. They can just play Liero at 12 pretty comfortably. Then he'll be sweet going on from there. Angus Crichton, 705k. No idea why people are selling. Yes, he had a couple of low scores in a row, 40 and 38, but the 2 games before that, he went 73 and 64. He has 80s and 90s in his game. He does come up against Para, so Bryce Cartwright the week after, into Titans, Canberra, and Bunnies there. So I wouldn't be selling Angus Crichton if you have that ability. Teddy as well, 2 low games for him in the last 3 weeks, 30, 62, and then 29. But we know that he has 97 in him, has 75, he has high 60s. If you sell him now, you'll be gutted when he goes big in that last 4 games. So it just feels like a mistake to sell Teddy. Ethan Strange, a guy on the list that you can sell pretty comfortably there on that front at 523k. He's in a good spot now to move on. Adam Cook is on the bench, so he could come on and take some minutes off Strange. And if that's the case, you probably don't want Strange anymore. He's also not going to be a game breaker. You're unlikely to play him clearly in your 17. So if you do want to upgrade Strange, you can do that. Lockie Galvin, I do understand potentially moving him on, but he's gone back-to-back 43s. He gives his absolute all for this club. And we know that he is going to do as much as he can to help them out. And I don't think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath like it was against the Cowboys. They're down to 12. He had to defend out in the centers. There wasn't much going on. And he still picked up 2 try assists and 43 points. So I think he's a fine hold. I'll be playing him this week, most likely. Trindle, they're hoping for him to be back next week. So I do see him as a pretty clear hold as well. I definitely sell Katoa first, just because I think he's probably likely to get rested as well. They're actually almost the same price. That's crazy for Trindle and Eli Katoa, how the fall of Eli has been. But 582k for Trindle is an easy one to hold this week. I think if you want to sell, I understand, but easy to hold. And then finish it off with Reed Marnie at 666k. He was the premier guy to have back like 50s for days. Then picked up a 78 and a 59, and then goes 43, 35, and 39 the last 3. So hopefully there's some bounce back in him. The tackle numbers have gone well below where they were. They were 50 plus pretty regularly. Thankfully for him, the missed tackles, a bit lower than that 8, the 5s, the 6s, the 7s. But just across the board, he is not getting the stats that he was, whether it was tries, whether it was assists. He did have 2 in round 21, but in that game, he only had 27 tackles, so it's extremely low, which is pretty wild for Reed Marnie. Expect to bounce back at some point. It might be this week against the Dragons, who do like to go up through the middle and use guys like Eisenhuth and DeBellin and these types of players there through the middle. And I think we'll leave it there. So plays every game. You kind of got to keep him at this point priced at 48. He could average 50 plus for the rest of the year and be fine for you. So thank you so much for being here for the buy, hold, risk, sell. 5 rounds to go. You're all legends. I wish you all the best of luck this week, and hopefully you can make some ranks.